Hey, what's up my brother, what's up my sister? This is your boy Oscar Ntege again with yet another amazing video. Well, there is a common misconception among beginning photographers. They tend to think that in order for someone to make amazing images, they need very expensive equipment. Now, in this video today, I just want to break that mentality. I remember when I was starting this journey of doing creative portraits, I really did not have the expensive equipment. I remember looking at the works of these prominent photographers. I admired Carl Taylor so much. I admired the likes of there is another gentleman called Joe Eldelman. I did not have the expensive gear they had. In fact, I used to shoot with a 60D, a Canon 60D with a kit lens, and I used to look at these guys' work and it was so amazing. But every time I saw their behind the scenes video, there was they had this expensive gear, they had this expensive equipment, which I for one did not have. The only thing I had, I remember, was some Chinese Yongnuo speedlight. I think it's about I don't think it's even is it? I think it's less than it's about $100, I think. And man, I ask myself, how do I create such amazing images despite the fact that I don't have the gear these guys had? And I decided to say, okay, whatever it is, I have to figure out a way on how to create such amazing images without me breaking the bank. My only option, the only option I had, was to either get creative and create something extra, or sit back and wait for me to get that prime lens and wait for me to get that kind of equipment. So I decided to go on a journey of sketching down different concepts. I remember the first shoot I ever did, the first creative shoot I ever did, was done with I did it with a makeup artist called Faith Fresh, and yeah, she called I also called a friend of mine who was a stylist then to come and help me with the head wraps and all that stuff. So we did this particular shoot here of Barbara Namudu, and yes, of course it was a beautiful shoot. And I posted this picture. I could not believe how much people embraced this picture. I did not even have the best equipment that there is, because when you look at even the specifications and the details of this particular image, I shot it with the Nikon D7000 then, which I hired from a friend of mine called Eric, because I did not even own a camera. And this image really went so viral, and from that day on I started creating various images, and that is why today I'm creating this video for you guys, so that just to prove to you that hey, you can create amazing images even with that little equipment. It is just you thinking out of the box, because most people tend to think but those guys have expensive equipment, those guys have awesome lighting. All these images you're going to look at here were shot, some are even shot outdoors in using the sun only, others are shot in studio with one light and reflector. So this time round, let us dive into this and see how amazing we can make this. Okay, in the comments below, tell me what you think on a scale of 1 to 10. How much do you think, how much does great equipment play in producing great imagery? Just in the comments below, just tell me what you think. And of course I'm going to reply to each and every comment. You know, I always do that. I reply to all the comments that come in, and yeah, tell me what you think. I would like to get your view as a person. This particular shoot of Helen Lukoma was done with I remember I went to Nassau Road, it's a place in Kampala, and I bought some powder paint, which was, you know how cheap powder paint is, and we mixed this powder paint in what we call how should I call it, egg white, to give it that kind of buttery kind of feel, because I did not have money ready to purchase acrylics. And then we mixed in a little bit of water, because powder paint gets a bit grainy. So by me adding there a few, like 2-3 eggs in this particular paint mix, it made the paint look a bit thick. So I bought red paint, I bought blue paint, then I bought yellow paint, and I mixed all these various things in different kinds of containers. So on the day of the shoot, we just put those things into that particular paint I had mixed, the liquid paint, into different containers, and we went on set to shoot. In fact, the flash I was using did not have high speed sync, so I set my camera into shutter speed 200, and then I shot at aperture 6.3 because I shot at 200 so that I could freeze a little bit of motion. Of course, I would have got better motion freeze with a higher shutter speed, but that is all I had. I shot this with a 60D, by the way. We did amazing images. This whole particular shoot was all about aquatics and the like. So the only thing I used to do was I used to give every photo shoot a particular theme. So this particular one was much more of an aquatic like kind of feel. I was just playing around with liquids. That's why when you look around this area here, you realize it has a little bit of water splashing through. Now this was water being actually poured off a plate. I did not have an opportunity to do behind the scenes videos of most of these shoots, but they were done in the most cheapest way that there is, because at the end of the day, the goal of doing these creative shoots is for you to have something different that your competition doesn't have. Because my competition had an advantage of having expensive equipment, expensive gear, which I did not have. My only weapon was to get as creative as can be. Not having expensive equipment should not translate into not doing expensive looking pictures. You can do that. Now look at this particular shoot, this sunflower shoot. This is a celebrity, a very big artist in Uganda and East Africa. Her name is Rema. We did a floral concept, completely a sunflower concept, and we are just playing around with sunflowers, color and the like, just to give it vibe. Then the other thing you can also do, you can play around with angles, camera angles. When you look at this particular shot, it's shot at almost chicken eye level, to give that illusion of authority, power, the hero kind of angle. This is a DJ shoot. This is DJ Musti. We did a shoot of him. I did not have equipment, and when you look at even the post-production, I had to put a fake flare in the back just to imitate that particular backlight. Then this particular shoot of Barbara, I got a cardboard and I cut down what they're called windows into this cardboard, and I shot hard light through this particular cardboard to create that kind of gobo like kind of feel to the whole image. And I have done this over and over again to place those patterns onto his face. Now this particular shoot, this was me really getting crazy. I saw some artists trying to duplicate this particular concept, but we are just playing around with food and grain. In fact, I just placed them into a particular pattern using colors, so that we have the face as the golden section and the rest of the food creating something like rays away from that particular feel. Basically, it's you getting crazy without fearing of making mistakes. And this particular piece won the creative category award in the Uganda Photo Press Awards, because actually the lady who was the organizer behind that particular award said it was your photos competing against one another, because we did not have people submitting pictures in the creative category. And that year, it was only my pictures that featured into the creative category. This piece was also bought as an artwork, still by somebody. It is just a crazy picture of us playing around with different seeds and the like, and it's pretty amazing. Now you look at this, I did not have a smoke machine, I did not have anything like how should I say, so we used colored powder paint. That is what we use to create this kind of feeling, with a smoky, cloudy kind of feeling. And I've used this technique so much in most of my shoots, and it has done me wonders. This is powder paint, and powder paint is very, 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 very cheap. So what I used to do, I used to get people, put powder in their hands, and at the count of 1, 2, 3, they used to blast it all around to create that cloudy kind of feel. It is the same thing we did with this particular thing, only that in this particular shoot, the one of Mosti, is that we used wheat, you know wheat, like wheat, the one they use for making bread. So we bought a pack of wheat. We were going in a place that is a bit isolated, where there is no power, and of course we didn't have a smoke machine. So what I did, I told my assistant, we set up the light, and my assistant Marcus, he got powder, the package in his hand, so he used to just bang it on the ground, so it ascends up in air. He goes into another space, he bangs up in air. So as this one is trying to come down and the other one is going up, so I did various shots to create this amazing kind of feeling. Now look at this. This is Rema again. Actually, the same day I did the sunflower shoot, it's the day I did this shoot as well. Now this Rema shoot, of course, I had people gate right behind her and throwing her hair just up in hair, and to get that particular vibe, the kinetic vibe that I used to see in the Carl Taylor pictures. Oh my god, I used to love pictures of Carl Taylor. He had I think one of his pages, something called Kinetic, and he had these amazing images. He shoots with a Hasselblad, but I ask myself, how do I get images that at least are closer to this guy? Man, I still to this day admire his work, and I just had to figure out a way, you know. Now this is the shoot I talked about in the beginning of the video. This was my very, very first creative shoot I ever did when I was coming into headshots. Now this particular piece, Barbara, the model, sat down on a chair, and we got a headscarf, rather that head wrap you're seeing, and it was not enough. And when you look at these other parts, I just stitched those other parts to create that long pattern all through that continues, that, you know, so that we make it a bit endless. Most people who look at this, they think she was lying on the ground. No, but she was seated to create that particular kind of I don't know, it was even shot with a Nikon D7000 that I borrowed from a friend of mine, Eric. Now what am I trying to say here? That you don't need expensive equipment to create those amazing images. This is another image again I did for a makeup artist. I did this for Imani, a Faith Imani, the makeup artist, a very awesome makeup artist. Now this one still I used the same technique of powder, of colored powder in the background. Now this particular one I used red powder paint in the background. Of course, this time around, Marcus used to be my assistant then. Marcus used to hold that powder in his hand, and at the count of 1, 2, 3, he used to blow. And when he blew, there was always that blast, you know, that happened behind the model, just to create a feeling of depth and all that, because the only 3 backgrounds I had in my studio were black and white. Actually, I only had a black and white backgrounds. Those were, so the only way to spice up those backgrounds was adding at least a little bit of creativity to give it more depth and the like. So you don't need really expensive gear to create expensive equipment. Okay, so now when you look at this one here, this one we used sacks. A sack is not in Uganda. I think you can even get it for free of charge, you know, but this one I think we got it at around $1. You know, that is how much a Siso sack is. We bought like 2 of them and cleaned them up, and we went somewhere in a warehouse and did these shoots. If you looked at the other shot where we used the gobos, this one actually, Morris was my assistant, one of my friends, a creative director. So he said, okay, how about this? He placed his fingers, and I looked at these different colored hands, because we had just done a powder smoky kind of shoot. So I told them, okay, put all your hands together, and we created this amazing masterpiece. I believe to this date, I still post these images and they look like they were taken yesterday, but this is many, many, many years ago. In this, what do I mean? You don't need very expensive equipment to create amazing images. The whole thing is about the story you're trying to tell. You know, beyond the gear, beyond the equipment, what people will treasure the most in your images are going to be the stories these images tell, you know. So think of something, think out of the box, and create things that are going to amaze your customers, that are going to amaze the people. At the end of the day, it is you showcasing your soul. It's you putting your soul out there to the world. Don't do everything. Don't do things like what everybody else is doing. It won't make you any different. The only thing that is going to make you different is the story you try to tell. Now, when you look at this particular piece here, this is makeup that was done by Bridget, Beats by Bridget. Now, Bridget, this was her makeup shoot, and she wanted something different, something amazing still. So she got some acrylic paint. Actually, this is watercolor paint, and then she painted the hands of this dark model, and you know, and we got such an amazing piece. When you look at this picture, yes, the makeup is beautiful, but if you're scrolling and you see somebody having yellow hands, you would stop scrolling. Some of these images are meant just to grab somebody's attention so that they come and sink deep into of your personality, into who you are, into, you know. But all this can happen if you dare to be different, if you dare to be different from the rest of the crowd. Now, this particular piece, I did it with drapes, with the clothing that I had hanging around, you know, the household, and we did that kind of we knitted it, and I asked her to wrap it all around her head, you know, and we got such an amazing portrait. This I'm shocked by how many people started asking for such portraits. Now, in this particular piece, we are looking at how do I use different colors within this particular piece, and the different textures, now the different patterns, the shapes. Basically, it is you emphasizing certain elements of art, you know, while silencing other particular elements. So, my dear, my brother, my sister, or my friend, man, you don't need expensive gear, because this particular piece was shot with a Canon 600D, and it was shot with one light on a white background with a reflector down. I think if you look closely, you'll even see it in the catch light. You know, it was not expensive equipment. This thing is completely shot with that, and it was shot with a lens. The lens was an 18 to 135 millimeter. It is basically a zoom lens that is a kit lens. It's not even a prime lens. In essence, what am I trying to say? That people, I know, as photographers, we tend to be more of gear geeks and equipment owners and photographer club members, where we talk gear, prime lenses, 70-200 f2 point. This, we speak all this mirrorless technology and all that stuff, and we forget what people buy into. What exactly do people buy into? People buy into emotion. They never buy into equipment, because at the end of the day, when we are not here, when cameras have changed and diversified, the only thing they're going to look at is the story behind the image than the equipment that we all brag about. Nobody's going to look at that. Here still, we played around with draping. I used so much of draping into my photo shoots to create that kinetic kind of vibe. You know, when you look at the picture, the portrait shot of her just smiling, anybody would do that shot. But again, I asked myself, okay, how do we use this drape to create a kinetic vibe all through this? And boom, we did this particular shoot. Of course, I had people throwing it over to create these amazing drips. When you look at the background is also a different kind of pattern. So we have her sandwiched into this beautiful African kind of patterns, because what defines Africa is mostly color, and that we are defined by color, and that is the same thing I embed into my photography. I'm African. I feel that is the only way I can celebrate my sense of belonging as a person. I love color. I love playing with color. And if you've been onto my Instagram account, man, you'll realize my pictures are a bit vibrant as compared to what certain photographers think. I choose, that is done definitely by choice. I choose to have my pictures looking colorful because I look at myself as an artist. I don't look at myself as a photographer. A photographer would keep me limited to playing by certain rules, and I don't like playing by the rules as a person. I love stepping out of the box and doing something different, because I believe the goal of photography as an art is not about reproducing works of nature. No, it is about adding something to nature. It's about co-creating with nature. If I'm just going to reproduce what nature is showcasing, of course I will never beat nature, but the only way I can be different is to co-create with nature. That is my philosophy I have when I'm creating most of these shots you see. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is be as creative as can be. Try to be different. Try to think out of the box. That is the only thing that is going to make you outstanding. The thing I have with me is I don't fear making mistakes. I don't fear making mistakes, because it is the mistakes that have taught me to be as creative as can be. Now, when you look at this piece, it is a simple piece basically, and when you look at it, it has actually a backlight at it, and then I had someone play with a drip, throwing it all around, and I just told her, okay, you're going now to face high up in air, so that her face was hit with a light. Then somebody just came in and began playing with this drapery and all that, just to create that kinetic vibe, movement, and the like. So when you look at this, you realize it is basically, there is no cost. I did not spend any money on what expensive equipment, on expensive light. Basically it is, but what I do, I just made sure I had her to close her eyes, because if I had told her to open her eyes, she would give me like a smizy kind of look. That look where the uncomfortable look somebody gives you when they are looking in the sun. So I told her to look up and just inhale and just feel the sun hit her face, so that I give it a different emotion, that somehow works together with nature. Because you cannot tell somebody to look into the sun, they would give you very, very uncomfortable look. So I just played around with the whole thing. Still the same thing. This is how you can create a kinetic vibe into your pictures. Exciting moments. It is the draping that is making the whole picture feel exciting. And when you zoom in this picture, actually it even has a little bit of a mistake. It was a little bit out of focus, and I shot this picture in JPEG, and the most amazing thing is that I just sharpened it, because when I checked into my camera, oh my god, it was a little bit out of focus, and I went into Photoshop and I started sharpening it a little. But shockingly, when I posted this particular piece, I had many mothers. Actually, I had many mothers hit my inbox asking for mother-daughter shoots. Because at the end of the day, man, it's about evoking emotion. Because when people didn't care about how out of focus it was, this taught me one thing, that as photographers, we really fancy the accuracy of an image than the emotional aspect that people care about most, and this, I'm not saying that you should not care about them. Yes, you should care about them, but again, once you finish mastering your gear, the other investment should be emotional investment. Ask yourself, what is this image saying? 20 years from now, assuming there are better cameras and equipment, will people still admire this image? That should be the image, the question you're asking yourself. And what is that one thing they are going to admire? It is the story. It is the story, because as humans, we are engineered to relate to stories, and that is part of our DNA, right from the Stone Age man, where man used to sit around the fire and listen to stories and be like, man. My advice to you is, you don't need a lot of equipment to be creative. Go out there, create. Now, I would try to give you a challenge today before you leave. Get your 50mm lens, no light, no expensive light. Go out there, create some amazing portraits. I mean, I can't wait to see them on Instagram. Just tag me in those particular things on Instagram, those particular images on Instagram. I'm very sure I'll comment. That's that for today. I hope to see you in my next video. And if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, hey, take a minute, of course, subscribe, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video. That's that for today, and adios, man.